Hello people, welcome back to another sit down walkthrough of a session. We did the pull session last time in this format, which I thoroughly enjoyed actually. I didn't think that I would enjoy it, but yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed it. So we're going to do the same with a push workout, and potentially we'll do one with like a leg day or something. So we also have 2 rotations of the push and the pull, so there might be another 2 versions of this, just different rotations. So we're going to start today off with a kind of a tricep exercise. Again, they have the Cybex kind of Bravo system. Just feels very smooth, and you'll notice here that I'm not doing it without any handles. Number one reason why I'm doing that, I really wish I had cuffs, but if I did it with D handles, the little balls that you kind of get, they do kind of tap out. So when you're kind of here, they kind of like clench together or like tap together. So the reason why I hold the ball is that they don't do that, because my hands are there to kind of stop that from happening. But you'll notice that I've got a bench here again, just to keep myself stable. Now what I like to do is I've got the bench, and you can see with the other dude in the background, you can see where the bench is obviously like this. What I do is I just step on this so that it makes sure I'm stable, so the bench doesn't kind of move forward. And then all I do is I just concentrate on pushing that tension right to where I want it. Again, a lot of these movements, a lot of these exercises are just there to be stable, right? And essentially we want to be stable, we want it in a targeted muscle group, and I just don't want it to piss off any of my kind of tendons, ligaments, etc., which this kind of is doing. It's providing progressive overload, which means I could do this for years and years and years, niggle free, which ultimately is the goal here, right? So we're starting with 2 sets of tricep push downs. Reason being is a big focus in the off season and the big focus in kind of a deficit is just to have arms looking a bit wild. It tends to be a weak muscle group of mine. And in the men's physique category this year, we found out that we have a front double bicep, and we also have a rear kind of double bicep, and potentially like there's kind of 2 main poses that I would love to nail, and it's kind of where we pushed a lot of attention to. So one thing that you could do, instead of like pushing a lot of volume to kind of a specific muscle group, one thing you could do is just push your kind of where you want to grow, for instance my arms, just to start the workout, and then just have a really kind of really have intention in where you're and what exercise you're selecting in terms of what fits you, right? Again, you want it to be progressive overload, you want it to be niggle free, and then again just make sure execution's good, and that's how it will grow, and that's how it has grown. So yeah, this is a movement that I really love, by the way, and you can only really do it on this cable system, but it's essentially like a skull crusher, but essentially you've got the back pad so you can kind of tense against it, again bracing and just making sure you're stable, and then all you do is do the skull crusher. So yeah, we did that for 2 sets, so that's a total of 4 tricep exercises, tricep sets. So yeah, very easy. And now we're moving on to the chest portion of the workout, which again has the same thing. It's making sure that I'm stable. It's making sure that it's not going to piss off anything, and also it's going to that I can progressive overload for a while. And this is quite a novel machine as well, because they've only just put this in, and I've actually kind of increased load here, no end. So I think I started with like 45 kilograms here. I did it for 67 kilograms. Kind of goes up in a bit of weird notches, but it's around like 2 plates up. So yeah, it's one of the movements that kind of have converges in. So typically in my first rotation of push, what I do is I have a movement on an incline, which will basically just push. It would be a straight movement plane, and then you have this, which kind of again is quite favourable for the chest. If you imagine kind of my kind of forearms are in a good position to do this, so to converge in, to make sure the chest is in a nice and kind of tight and contractile position. Whereas if I'm kind of coming out like this, it's kind of putting the shoulders in a weird position, kind of putting my forearm in a weird position. So you kind of want to involve both a kind of a flat movement when you're doing this, and also involve like a converging path. Now here I'm doing the flat path. So I understand I'm doing both, and I'm going to count this as an incline kind of a chest press. Now I do this in a higher rep range just from the simple fact that I've done my heavy compound work. So I did that for 2 sets in a 7 to 10 rep range, and then now I'm going to do it kind of in a straight path, and this is going to be for 1 set, just ultimately finishing off the chest. Again, one thing that you'll notice is that I'm doing 4 sets of triceps, and I'm doing I actually do like 4 sets of chest in this workout. You'll see that I do more chest later on in the workout, but that's really it. Like, and understand that for some that's like, fucking hell, it's quite low, right? But for some people that's like, wow, that's quite high. So understand when we're talking about volume, understand when someone's low, someone could be like, oh, that's low volume. Someone that could be really high, and vice versa, right? So understand we're not talking about my volume, we're not talking about your, like, we're not talking about anyone else's volume, we're talking about your volume. What can you handle? This is what I can handle. This might be too low for you, this might be too high for you. So understand when you're looking at someone's kind of training, understand you're looking at like a real snapshot, and understand that they don't really give you much information about it. It's just, I'm doing this many sets and this many exercises and blah 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 blah. But understand that if you try to plug and play it into your own kind of training, understand that it could be, again, too little, too much, whatever. And that's kind of the beauty of hypertrophy training, in my opinion, is that it's so individual. Like the amount of people that I coach, and everyone is, if I gave them this workout, for example, then each and every, like, maybe like 10% might grow from it, but like 90% might not. And understand my coaching business would be pretty shit and wouldn't last very long if that happened. And now we go on to leg extensions, and these are going to be the midway point, and we're doing a Maya reps, and this is just going to be 1 set on here, just because, again, men's physique, don't necessarily need legs, right? But essentially this is how I attack my quad volume. We have a lower day in the week, and then we have a push session to conclude the week, which basically attacks my legs. Again, I don't really need a lot of volume for my legs. Typically I won't go anywhere over like 4 or 5 sets per week on quads, and the same for hamstrings. Even hamstrings is slightly lower actually, it's about kind of 3 or 4, and I can adequately grow on that even in a deficit. My proxies post set are out of this world, and I also get DOMs like the next day. So yeah, I don't know why, but leg volume is seemingly low. I'll put that in air quotes because that could be high for someone, which I highly doubt it. But now we're going back to triceps. So I understand we had tricep, then we had chest exercise, we then went on to quads. Now we're going back to triceps just to kind of finish them off. I tend to find my triceps don't necessarily get that sore, which isn't a good kind of proxy, but they don't really get like that disrupted and pumped with the sets that I do have. So what I do is but if I did them after, when I kind of do them, it's a little bit too much. They just feel a little bit too fucked. So what I do is I just basically take time away, go to quad movement or chest, quad, come back to it, finish it off, good. Same here. If I plug this in immediately post the Cybex, then it's just a little bit too much volume. So what I do is just take time away and then come back to it, and then that's it. But yeah, so I did 1 set of the tricep push downs in kind of the hammer position, very favourable for kind of wrists, and you can also, it's actually very favourable for the triceps in general. Then we have 1 set of this, which again, very stable. I've got the back pad and I can just do work to the pec, and then and again aligns really nicely with me and doesn't piss off anything. And that's the push session done. Make sure you like, share, subscribe. I hope you enjoyed it. Put some feedback down below if you enjoyed it, and I'll probably do a few more of these. Anyway, peace, love, see you in the next one.